So I try to give you a really quick overview of the agenda. I think it has been printed. It must be one of the first pages in your printouts. So what you already passed is the introduction part. And we're now going into requirements engineering. And we start, the structure of our talk is the same as the structure of the requirements engineering, elicitation and consolidation 3-day training. And you will see parts of every part of the training, but we don't go that deep. So our goal is to give you a really good overview. So we start with the first part is required skills of the requirements engineer. And we show you some of the requirements of the required skills. I will talk a little bit about the communication model, because elicitation is a lot about communication. Then we will talk about the requirement sources. We will talk about stakeholders and the classification of stakeholders. We will talk about other sources of requirements, for example, documents and systems in operation, and how to classify them, how to work with them. After that, we will go into elicitation techniques. We'll give you an overview of elicitation techniques, and this is the overview, and we will go more into detail into some of the techniques. For example, one technique we go much more into detail is the interview. And we will conduct some interviews and have a workshop on interviews for one and a half hour. So if anybody of you could try to do an interview as a requirements engineer, and we will give feedback, what you should look on, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, the do's and don'ts and all that stuff. But first we will give you some information, some theory, and then go into the practical thing. And also we'll tell you something about observation techniques like field observation apprenticing, contextual inquiry, and creativity techniques. That's the part about elicitation, and then the last part of our workshop will be something about consolidation. Because always if you elicit requirements, you will have people having requirements that don't fit to each other. So you have to consolidate requirements, that's a normal job. And at the end of the tutorial, we will talk about consolidation techniques like agreement, compromise, definition of variance, voting, overruling, and some analytical techniques. This will be the end of the workshop. And so you've seen everything that was in the advanced level, but not everything into that detail. And we do some after each block of theory. You will have a session called brain teasers. We will do some question and answering game. It's like multiple choice questions. And these questions are really similar to the ones you will find in the written multiple choice test if you will try to pass the exam of the advanced level elicitation and consolidation. And we will do some other games, interview games and stuff like that. Getting caught.
Alright, so yeah, it's kind of loud, sorry. So let's have a start. Onto the right slide. Like you can imagine, you do need some special skills if you like to act as a requirements engineer. So, hold on. Here we go. So we talk, that's the structure of the training, the 3-day training, so we won't go into detail on the NLP part as well as the transactional analysis. We just keep the focus today on the foundations and on the communication model. Yeah, it's extremely loud, isn't it? Huh? All right. You still hear me? Okay, so what's the role of you as a requirements engineer in the development process. It's like you have to deal with all the stakeholders, so you're always in between. You have to, well, be familiar, to figure out, to talk with the project manager, to, well, that's the first step anyway, to settle down the stakeholders you gotta work with. Then, well, follow up. You are pretty much in contact with the marketing and sales guys, and well, the users, the customers, to elicit all the requirements. Well, furthermore, you have to deal with the architect people and the designers as well. The testers also will come back to you all the time in between the development process, because they, well, might come with some special details about requirements, or you have to change things, or in which way you are able or they should change it. Anyway, quality assurance gonna try to catch you all the time, because they have to make sure the requirements of the system's gonna be good. So you can imagine you really need some skills to handle all those different groups of, well, persons, characters. And honestly, it's not that easy like you think, and we do know that. So that's the reason why you should, well, be able, or you should have these skills like we show here. I think it's pretty clear, it's important you're having analytical thinking skills, because what you have to understand the new process, the new project, the new product maybe. So analytical thinking is very important, as well as the methodological experience and requirements engineering, because you will be in the need, well, sure, you will be in the situation to use several techniques to get requirements. So that means like you should know these techniques, you can really perform these techniques, and yeah, so you should be familiar with a lot of techniques. Let's go further. Self-confidence, I think you can imagine that's very important. You have to deal with a lot of different characters. You have to, well, sometimes have to lead, but we'll put that back on later on. But communication skills is also very important, because most times you're doing techniques where you're talking, where you catch up information about requirements, about what your customer really wants when you're talking to them. So you should have good communication skills. There are some techniques, we won't keep the focus on today, but there's a lot to learn how to communicate the right way. Empathy, so I think, sure, always have a smile, and it makes it much easier, especially when you have difficult groups or difficult characters you have to deal with. Moderation skills, it's kind of the same, like with the communication skills, there are some elicitation techniques. You act as a moderator, so you should know the rules you have to use, or which are in the room when you use these techniques, so acting as a moderator. Persuasiveness, so I think there's nothing to add on that one. Conflict resolution skills. There will be conflicts. When you get in requirements and the one stakeholder just says, I want to have the product developed this way, the other one's that way, so there always will be conflicts. And you're always in between as your role as requirements engineer for the project. Well, all these skills here, most of them are personal skills, or let's call them soft skills if you like to. You except the analytic and the methodological expertise. These are the skills I think a few of you know already when you did the foundation level. So these are the regular skills, but if you are a requirements engineer who's specialized for doing elicitation and consolidation, there are some add-ups. So let's have a look on the next slide. Here we go. Like the motivating character is like, you should be able to motivate your stakeholders, because there might be some techniques you have to use which are, well, you know, not that comfortable for them, which are, they have to change the perspective, so they have to motivate them, like they're gonna do that, or yeah, anyway, motivating your stakeholders is a big key for getting requirements in a very easy way. The strong leadership skills, yeah, like I told before already, it's very important because there will be conflict situations. So you have to be the guy they know they can rely on. The neutrality, that's a very important thing. So make sure you don't impart your own ideas into the project or into the development process by eliciting the requirements. You always have to be neutral. And the reflective communication is just an add-on on the communication skills we had before already, because you have to reflect all the knowledge you gain during the eliciting process, and yeah, just make sure you have those skills. Chris, may I hand over to you?
So now get to the communication models. If you're doing the advanced level course, you will have 6 or 7 different communication models, because the field of elicitation of requirements is really focused on working together with your customer, with the users. So you need to communicate a lot, so that's why you have to learn a lot about communication models. And yeah, normally you have to learn 5 or 6 different models in that course, and I just picked out one just to show you how communication models work. I picked out one of them, a little bit more complicated ones. It's called the communication model according to Schulz von Thun. Schulz von Thun is a German guy. And first of all, I'm going to talk about the problems of communication. What are the problems we have according to communication? One problem is we use different terminology. If you talk to people who come from different fields, they use different words, sometimes meaning the same, sometimes meaning different things. So one of the things is to get clear, what are you talking about? And so natural language is something we all know, but natural language is always a source of errors because everyone uses it a little bit different. On the other side, we have some very different types of communication media. We very often use verbal communication, and that is good because it relies on redundancy and on feedback. Because if I tell you something and you don't understand it, you just raise your hand and ask. If I give a written specification to you, it's much more complicated because I have to assume what you already know and don't know. And I don't want to write down too much redundancy because it's really hard to maintain a specification with too much redundancy. But if I don't put in some redundancy, it might be hard to read. So written communication is much harder than verbal communication. Because if you do verbal communication, I can look at you and see if you look like you did understand it or not. And it's much easier to ask questions. And yeah, we very often have a problem with implicit background knowledge. If you're talking to your customers, and for example, they are very good at air traffic control, or if they are very good at banking software, they will tell you some features of a product, but they are really into that topic, so they will get a lot of information. Because they just assume that this implicit knowledge is known to everyone. So one of the big problems is to get to all these implicit knowledge when you're doing the elicitation job. So, let's get to one of the communication models. That's one from Schulz von Thun. It's called the Schulz von Thun model, a really complicated name. And Schulz von Thun tells you that every message has four sides. These four sides are written down here. It's the factual information, the relationship information, it's a self-disclosure. Maybe you have something, another word there. It's not self-disclosure because I changed the translation because it hasn't been translated quite well, so you have to change that one. The right word is self-disclosure, and it has some appeal information. So it means every message has four informations in it, and you as a requirements engineer, you should have 4 ears, because you should watch all these 4 channels, for example. Let me do an example. For example, if you're at home, and the wife tells the husband, the trash bin is full, for example. Or the food is ready. Let's take the first one, the trash bin is full. And let's look what Schulz von Thun says about these 4 sides of the message. There's one message, it's the factual information. That just shows the fact the trash bin is full. Yeah, that's a fact. That's the fact side, so the factual information. A message always has an appeal side. The appeal side is that what the sender tries to tell the receiver to do. If the wife says to the husband, the trash bin is full, the appeal side might be, go and empty. Do that job, for example. I want you to come here to me, take the trash bin, go out and empty it and bring it back again. I think that's the appeal side of that message. You very often have a relationship side of the message. Maybe the relationship information on the trash bin is full is, I love you, but I'm really angry because you're so lazy. You have to assist me. Something like that. Maybe that's the relationship information. And the self-disclosure information is what I want and how essential the message is for me. Maybe the self-disclosure information on that message is, it is urgent, it is important for me, I really want you to do that now, for example. So every message has 2 information. Let's do another example. For example, if the program or the project manager talks to you as a requirements engineer, and the program manager says, I think we don't really need that requirement.